Good day. Today's video will be a little bit different. I thought it would be interesting to work on a pair of loafers, like in this case, this pair of Gucci loafers, and what to do in case you're traveling or in case you find yourself in a situation where you don't have all of your tools. So in this particular video, we will try to do a cleaning of these shoes and polishing without the inclusion, say, of shoe trees. So the first thing we'll do is a combination of alcohol and water is to disinfect the insoles. Make sure that you get all the leather linings. While that is happening, I will try and remove as much dirt as I can from the uppers using a brush. Now, I chose this particular pair because, as you can see, there is severe creasing, so I think the effect will be quite nice. Now I'll try to even out the soles here, make them square. This is something that barely nobody notices it, but if they are your shoes, you know that such a thing exists as a squared edge on your sole. I'm trying to just even it out. Notice that I'm trying to take care of as much as I can from the dirty aspects of cleaning of the shoe first. This occurred to me because a lot of the time you could find yourself in needing of a clean or proper pair of shoes, and you're traveling and then you get under the rain and you don't have all the possible tools that you might have. And I know nobody travels, well, not nobody, but a lot of people won't travel with items like shoe creams and shoe trees. Actually, shoe trees you might want to consider all the time, especially if you're traveling. At least travel shoe trees, which most likely are plastic and lightweight. But I would suggest that you always keep that in mind, so that your shoes are properly kept, even if you're traveling. Assuming that you're taking more than one pair. If you only have the one, then even the inclusion of shoe trees makes more sense, because you might need to wipe the shoes moisture out. Okay, the insoles are relatively dry. What I'll do is that I'll give another pass with a cloth and more alcohol, just to make sure that everything is properly cleaned, or as clean as I can get it anyway. Okay, there we go. So again, let's picture ourselves traveling. You're in a hotel, you need to shine your shoes, but you don't have shoe trees. You forgot them at home. Find something to stuff in the shoe. In this case, I'll use paper, but you could use a towel, especially hotel towels. You could use a t-shirt, you can use a pair of socks. There are several things that you can use to try and even out the surface and provide some structure. This is not the best situation to be at, but again, we're trying to find out what can you do in case you find yourself in a pickle. The idea is to stretch the leather as close as possible to its original shape. I think for now this would do. Now then you could decide how to clean it. You could clean it just with water. I'll demonstrate now cleaning off the uppers just with water. Again, this is not the best or ideal way of doing things, but if you find yourself in a pickle, then at least you know that you have options. Just with water, you can see how much dirt it's being removed. Is this the best way to do it? No. Is it a way to do it? Yes. Okay. And this would be pretty much as good as you can get in terms of cleaning. Now, let's say you're in a hotel and you can get access to one of those free toothbrushes that they give to you. So then you can try and use that to clean the rest of the shoe. Just with water. Again, what we need to do now is make sure that the leather is as clean as we can get it. So what we'll do is also use a brush. In this case, I'm using this brush that you have seen me use before. But if you were at a hotel, sometimes they offer you free or complimentary accessories like a toothbrush, and that will also work. But at the moment I don't have a spare toothbrush, so I was just going to use what I have. So let me keep on going with this. Put this here. What you want to do is make sure that you clean this area where the upper meets the sole, because there is where a lot of dirt and dust accumulates. Give it a proper pass. This loafer has a belt, so I'll try to make sure that I go underneath that. We really do not need that much water. Remember, this is just an emergency situation. Because truth to be told, if your shoes are soiled in a aggressive manner, sometimes this might not be enough, or maybe you're gonna need more than one pass. But in areas like this is where the dust accumulates, so make sure that you also track the areas that you clean and make sure that it is looking clean after you have brushed. Believe me, it has happened that I've never anticipated a issue with my shoes, and I've had to use this same technique, for lack of a better word, a couple of times. What I would suggest is that you do it at the end of the day so that the shoes can dry throughout the night. Cloth, or again a hotel a towel, or even an old t-shirt that you want to sacrifice. Try and rub the upper to remove any excess moisture that might have been left behind. And also to feel how the leather is doing. Make sure that you also try and access all of the crevices. Now, as much as I do not want to admit it, to move forward, we will need a source pigment, because when we are cleaning the shoes with water or with any other chemical, we remove not only the dirt but sometimes some of the creams, and some of the color also changes. So in order to have that color uniform again, we need to have some sort of pigment. So if you ever run into issues or you expect to have a business trip, I would suggest that you always carry at least one can or container, tin, I don't know how you buy your creams, but at least one. If the worst come to happen, if you're carrying on a trip multiple colored shoes, carry a neutral so that you hydrate after you clean and also help bringing the original color a little bit out of the shoe. Bring it back, not bring it out like eliminating it. So these would be the only necessity aside from the shoes that you will always need to carry with you, at least. So try to make the color as uniform as we can. Luckily for me, these shoes are black, but the one time that I remember struggling with this was with a pair of brown shoes, because they got really dirty. I went into a muddy area and got maybe half of the shoe soiled with mud in terms of height. So I had to struggle a lot trying to clean the shoes, because I had meetings also the next day, and I was unprepared. Now again, this is just a suggestion to be considered if you ever run into a situation where your shoes get dirty and you don't have access to everything. So whenever you pack, at least try to keep a tin or a can or a bottle of shoe cream so that you can care for your shoes. I know now it's particularly complicated, at least in the US, to travel with liquids. But if you have an important meeting or an important business trip, make sure that you prepare yourself. After the application of the cream, what we would need now would be something to polish the shoe. Regretfully, let's say you do not have a brush with you, then you can still try and get some polished with an old cloth, a t-shirt. I wouldn't recommend a towel, but if there's nothing else that you can use, or if you don't want to sacrifice a t-shirt, then the towel would have to do. So what we will try to do now is just to rub the cloth against the surface of the shoe and try to bring a small shine. Now remember, this is just desperate measures in case you need really bad to bring back a pair of dirty shoes. So just using items that you can find at a hotel or items that you can use when not planning accordingly and traveling with everything that you might need to polish a pair of shoes. With the cloth, I deem that this is as far as we can go. There is also a technique on which you use your hand to polish and make the most out of the heat that your hand's gonna create, and also the oils that your skin have. So with the Boot Black products, you can actually achieve that, and there are a couple of videos that I have done about that. But this being Brift H, I don't think it allows for it that well. So regretfully, this is as far as we can go without shoe trees and without brushes. Now, the worst coming to worse, if you have a meeting and you had to clean your shoes, at least they are clean and in a certain way wearable. Sometimes hotels do have those automatic spinning machines that can help you polish the shoes. I wouldn't recommend that you try the products that they give away for free, some like sponges with creams, because, well, I don't know, or we don't know the source and the materials in the creams. Not that they're gonna ruin your shoes, but if you care for your shoes, you would like to know what is that you're using on them. So this is as far as we can go. Now, evidently, I'm not gonna leave the shoes in this condition, because given the fact that I do have most of the elements, then we will keep on going. Let's pretend that you do have shoe trees, and because you're traveling, then you just have a pair of plastic shoe trees, because they're easy to travel with, they're light, and they serve the purpose. Now, as you can see, just by the addition of the shoe tree, you can see how the vamp appearance changes drastically, which is why, at least in most of the cases, shoe trees are necessary not only to remove moisture but also to maintain the structure of the shoe and help them remain the way they were. So from here on, we could at least pretend that, let's say you are traveling with a cream, a pair of traveling shoe trees, and a brush. Then at this stage we will proceed to brush the shoes like we would normally do. And make the shoes a tad bit more presentable. At least now they do have a very discreet shine, which sometimes that's all that you want if that's your style. There are a lot of gentlemen that prefer not to draw attention, and a very discreet shine would do. Then by all means, always carry a brush so that you can at least achieve this. This is not good enough for me, so what I'll do now is actually to keep on going. So now I'm gonna use some wax in order to make the shoe even more eye appealing, a little bit more interesting. Now again, first layer, protect all of the leather in the shoe. All the surface that is gonna be confronted with pollution, dirt, water, etc. Now remember, the reason that you're protecting them is because you want longevity in your shoes, but there is no guarantee that if you were to get in an area where there is grass and the grass is wet and there is mud, that the wax is gonna make the shoe waterproof. It might help minimize the adverse effect that water might have on the finishing of your shoe, but it's not gonna avoid it completely. So let's say you have a can of wax when you're traveling, whether it is black or neutral. If you're traveling with a more than one pair of shoe and the shoe color is not the same, so then you add the wax or you retouch the leather. And then you can buff it shine. So again, using a brush, you can improve the overall appearance of the shoe. You don't need too much wax. Just 1 or 2 layers should suffice to protect the shoe and also to bring the leather to a small shine. Oh, sorry. As you can see, there is a contrast in terms of finishing. It looks a lot more presentable like this. So a brush apparently is a necessity, which I learned that day that I was telling you about. So now I try to travel with a brush, especially if it's on a business trip. If it's casual, it's just, you know, vacation or something of that nature, then it's at your own discretion. Now, if it's for business, I would always suggest that you carry at least a brush and maybe a can of wax. That is assuming that you shine and condition your shoes at home before you actually left. That way, all you need to do is retouch. So that would be it for the shine. But we can add a brief mirror shine. Why not? We have the elements here, so might as well. But just to be clear, this would be the end result if we only had a brush and a can of wax. We are moving forward to a more traditional mirror shine. And just with the same can of wax, we will pursue that mirror shine. Now, I do have to admit something. Say, for instance, you know you are going to travel a lot and you don't want to go to the trouble of carrying cans of or tins of creams, conditioners, waxes, then by all means go with shell cordovan. Shell cordovan just with water and a brush, which would be almost, you know, minimal in terms of packaging space. You could keep the shoes properly shined with the smallest amount of inputs. Just water, which you can get anywhere pretty much, and a brush and a lot of patience. That I do have to admit, it is a longer process when you're talking about shell cordovan, but then again, it is quite stunning, the difference between a properly shined shell shoe or boot as opposed to one that is made out of leather and that you do need more inputs, and it's a little bit more laborious because of the necessity of the products and the tools and the time. Long story short, you have to travel a lot on business. You want to carry the smallest amount of elements, go for shell. You can make do with just a brush and a cup of water. As you can see, I have used 1 or 2 layers of wax. I will also add 1 or 2 layers of this wood black, which is specialized product for mirror shines. Not that I cannot achieve it with Saphir, but for the sake of entertainment, and I think I've done it before, let's compare. One on which we use this wood black product, and one on which we use just regular wax from Saphir, which is by all means a good product, don't get me wrong, it's a great product. But this particular line of Saphir is not the one specifically suggested for mirror shines. That would be the Mirror Gloss product, which at the moment I don't have in black. Let's have one more pass to this shoe. Just using the Saphir, and then we'll keep track, hopefully, of how long it takes to develop a mirror shine. Now, that's gonna be subjective, obviously. I don't have my measuring apparatus with me to compare the shine that you develop with Saphir and the shine that you develop with a combination of Saphir and wood black. So I'm gonna go traditional here with the bottom of a t-shirt. I know I do not use this method that often. You don't see me using it that often, but it is a thing. Again, let's get some moisture. And let's pursue that mirror shine. The first pass, more of an activation, if you may. At least that's how I perceive it. Everyone does it a little bit different, and that's okay. There's no fixed recipe about how to do it. So for me, the first one is more of an activation. Always remember to move the shoe so that you tackle it from different angles and that no area of the shoe is left unpolished. The comfort of your home, it is relatively easier for you to grab the shoe in the opposite direction like this, but because I'm doing it for you, I have to take this approach so that you can see what's going on. Now, in this spot, I am feeling a little bit of a drag which might indicate that there is a lack of moisture because the cloth is not flowing. So now that I added a small amount of water, I can feel the cloth just gliding and flowing. There's a little bit of a drag there too. So that's some moisture. And let's move forward. You can hear the difference of the cloth when it is dragging as opposed to when it is just sliding. I'm sorry if I am constantly stopping, but it is quite hot. I have to stop every now and then to remove the sweat from my forehead. We're in the last leg of the summer, but not that I'm complaining about it. It is really going out with a bang. It's really hot. I think right now we're like 99, 98 degrees Fahrenheit. I do have to say something. about using old t-shirt. If it is the first time that you're using said shirt, just like when it happens with a new brush, the overall surface is not the best, so it might take a little more wiggly for you to develop the mirror shine. The more you use a cloth and you clean it and you wash it, the softer it gets, and then the easier it is to use that to develop a mirror shine. Sorry, I had to stop for some reason. Actually, I went to drink some water. It's really hot. The nice thing about this setup, it's that it's a little bit more secure, if you may, because it's pretty much wrapped around your whole hand and wrist. So the cloth tend to stay a little bit better. Now let's see, just using the Sapphire. I think this is the Pat Deluxe. Wax. So, oh, my mistake. So that we try it under similar circumstances, I need to change the spot on the cloth. So this was the previous one, so we'll just move the right a little for the sake of being scientific. Wet. We're gonna try to activate. What is actually happening, this my belief, is just the warming up and melting real quick of the wax. I think one pass was enough. It's getting in the way. Okay, now I made a mess. There you go. Now it's noted by one of the viewers, yes, darker shoes do allow for a more noticeable mirror shine than lighter shoes, which is a shame because lighter shoes are also nice. I mean, I like all sorts of shoes. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna prefer one over the other. It's just that for the black shoes and darker browns, darker shades of browns, the mirror shine is, for video purposes, somewhat more noticeable. Now, as you can see, it is taking more time to develop the mirror shine with just this sapphire wax. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just that it takes a little bit more of time. But for the sake of keeping things uniform, I think I'm just gonna also switch to this Brift H, Wood Black High Shine series. Shoes are already undergoing a very strange shine method because, well, this was more of an experiment, and also to illustrate that at least with bare essentials you could make a pair of shoes presentable. It's not the ideal way to do it, it's not the best way to do it, but if you are in a situation where you need to, at least you have an idea what to expect as an outcome. It's just illustration purposes. I think it has been a while since we had fun with a pair of shoes in which we try something a tad different. What was the latest shoe that we tried something different? Maybe it's when we were trying to create a burnish with a pair of vintage American gentleman shoes, yes, and we use a method in which a sponge was used to deliver the wax for the mirror shine. Yes, we use hot water and a sponge, and that melted the wax, and that is what we used for the mirror shine that particular time. Ever since that video, we hadn't actually tried anything different. We try to stick to the more traditional methods of the shoe shining. It's always nice to try something else and to have fun with what you're doing. Ultimately, this is supposed to be entertainment in a way. But yes, I remember that one time when I was struggling to have presentable shoes because of that experience that I just told you about earlier before. So as you can see, if you also follow other channels related to shoes and how to take care of them and water shoes and similar, there's always emphasis made on the importance of shoe trees. And by how this video is, has shown, in order to maintain the vamp, yes, shoe trees are a must. In this case, I'm using plastic shoe trees, though, similar to the ones that I would use if I were to travel on a plane, just to save on weight. The idea here is mainly to maintain the shape. There's not going to be too much of moisture absorption by these shoes because they're not made out of wood, which is the other material that is commonly used for shoe trees, cedar wood. In this case, the plastic mainly to maintain the shape of the shoe will help with the creasing. They find that highly polished shoes are pedantic. I would think that if you're watching this video, most likely you enjoy the appearance of a properly shined pair of shoes. Nevertheless, that doesn't take away from people that are here for the sounds. So if you're here for the sounds, do you find shoes that are highly shined pedantic? Are they too much in your face? Or have you grown an appreciation behind not only the actual shining of the shoe, but also the aesthetics of them? I have to admit this, a bit of a process to have the mirror shine, and well, not everyone appreciates it. But again, if that is something that you like, and if you're not offending anyone else, if you're not hurting anyone else, I don't see how your particular preference for high shine shoes or the lack of the appreciation by someone else is a factor that you should care too much about it. If you like it, hey, by all means. If someone doesn't like it, well then that's their opinion. They're not right or they're not wrong, it's just their difference of opinion. I find properly shined shoes as an indicator of, for one, patience, also perseverance, because through these videos you have experienced firsthand that there is some time behind it. It does take some time to develop a nice shine on a pair of shoes. So maybe that's sort of an evidence that you care. on small details. Well, not so small because it is really evident, but I guess you understand what I'm trying to say. Pair of highly shiny shoes denotes discipline to develop the shine and also to maintain it, so that when you walk you're also deliberate about how you walk, so as to maintain the shine on the shoes. Because if a mirror shine is to a certain way and to a certain degree in your face, a cracked mirror shine is even more noticeable. I suppose we take note more on the negatives than we do the positives. For it being a short video, I think I'll stop here. Evidently the overall idea was to show what you can do with the smallest amount of elements for shoe keeping. So just like this, we went from A to B. I hope the video was of your liking. I hope it creates some value. If you have liked the content, please comment. If you haven't done so, like and subscribe. Share the video with your friends. And I'll see you next time. Have a good day.